talking to people just gets you nowhere most of the time. It just doesn't. Seriously. And one thing I just can't look over is the inevitable awkwardness. I just can't get over that, man. That's hands down. I think that's the worst part of interaction, in my opinion. And do you guys want to know when awkwardness is most prevalent in an interaction? So awkwardness is most prevalent when you're finishing an interaction, in my opinion. So here's what I mean by that. So like, I could talk to a random stranger or even someone that I'm actually cool with, someone that I actually know. I could talk to them for a while, hang out with them all day. But when it's coming to that time where we have to go our separate ways, it's like you're both just standing there like, so what do we do now? I really hate when this happens so much, man. I mean, yeah, you're obviously going to be like, all right, man, take care, I'll see you later. But even with that, it just feels kind of like, it just feels awkward even with that. Like, for example, right? So, yesterday I talked with people that on the phone were texting, I swear I did that. They were texting me back and forth. Well, on my phone up, and they asked me if they wanted to hang out with me for a week, just one day. I don't say no for like one day, I'd rather not, but hey, I just say no. I just do it just this one day. And then, yeah, we hung out, we had fun and stuff like that beforehand. And these are people that I actually could have a decent conversation with, But at the same time, when it came to the time we were about to wrap things up and go home, because it was a long day when we hang out that time, did a lot of stuff together, I was like, all right, man, I'll see you later, I guess. And what made it so awkward in this case is that I knew that I wasn't going to see them in years, but you just kind of just have to be like, oh, I'll see you later. I'm not going to see you later. It's kind of like, have you guys ever talked to strangers and you don't even know what to say? Like, let's just say you interact with a random stranger, right? All right, man, take care. It's like you say that, but like you already know you're never going to see this person again, so it's kind of awkward. Like, what's the point? Actually, want to know what's worse than the awkwardness of the ending? Actually, now that I think about it, one thing that I've always hated is when people just can't take the hint that you want the interaction to be over, right? And, oh my God, I hate this so much. And it's funny because I can very easily come up with several examples off the top of my head because it just happens so often. I was talking about how I was in a program, right? So we were in class, and the lesson that was going on, and there was this guy that was just talking to everyone, and everybody around, and he was just like, I don't even remember what he was. I think it was, I don't know. Well, hold on. I don't even remember. It was Egyptian. He kept talking to us about how great he is and how awesome it is, how beautiful he's acting. He was like, all you guys do is just work. You don't have any, you don't actually live life over here. You just work and go home. Which I agreed with to an extent. But the thing is, he just kept talking. Like, he just kept talking to us about how great he is. And, now that I think about it, he's Bangladesh. He just kept going on and on and on. He was showing us videos, showing us, like, pictures of when he was a kid. He was showing us everything. And at one point, he was talking to us the entire time. I was like, bro, we get the point. But the thing is, it's like you can't even just say directly, okay, let's just stop talking. The entire time, I had a smile on my face because I wanted to come across as polite. Because I genuinely don't know how that works, bro. Like, when someone just doesn't stop talking, it just puts you in a very awkward situation. And they don't understand that you don't even want to talk anymore. They have no idea. So they can't pick up on the hints. And the hints were, like, very clear. So, like, for example, right? I'd say within the first, 20 minutes of the interaction, yes, I did talk with this guy for that long about nothing. I wasn't generally interested in what he was saying. I was curious. I wanted to hear him talk. and we were actually having a discussion. But I say like around, yeah, after the 20-minute mark, it wasn't even a discussion anymore. It was just this guy monologuing to me. And I was just making very dry responses like, oh, that's cool, man, that's cool. So it's like, I just don't get it because, for me, right, just me as an example, right, if I'm talking to someone for a long period of time, I'm very capable of detecting when they don't want to talk. The hint is like very obvious. And for me, again, the moment I detect these hints, I just immediately shut the conversation off. Like if I'm talking to someone about what are my interests, right? And I detect that they actually aren't making that much of an effort to respond to what I'm saying, or if they do respond to what I'm saying, it's very casual, like, yeah, okay. That tells me that they don't actually want to talk about it, right? It's very obvious. It's common sense, basically. So, what I'm just trying to understand is that how are so many people in this world, how are so many people just lacking social skills? Like, how do so many people just have zero awareness, zero social awareness, right? I don't know, because to me, it just seems like it's common sense. And again, with that guy in a program talking about how good he is, at the end, because I was with other people, and at the end, we were to part ways. But it was a very, very long conversation because we were going to an outing, right? And the moment we got off in the outing, we parted ways, we shook hands, and then I was like, bro, he's like, bro, that guy went on for way too long. I was getting tired of that, bro. It is what it is, bro. I knew I was going to tell myself that. That's the funny thing. I knew exactly what I was going to say about myself. And if I didn't say it, I would have said it first. Because I could feel my wavelength during that interaction, But on the surface, the entire time, we basically just kept putting on this act that we were interested, Even though we just wanted to end the interaction a long time ago. And, oh my God, bro. And it's funny because, I was there too. And I said something very interesting at the time, like, damn, some people just aren't very socially aware. And I kind of laugh when I say myself that because, if you guys ever heard me talk about myself before on this channel, I'm really into, like, anime games, stuff like that. I talk to myself about those things quite frequently. And I kind of laugh because I will say to myself that this stranger has no social awareness, but I do the exact same thing, I will talk to others about my hobbies. Anime. Oh my God, there's a new video game. Oh my God. And I don't even really respond to what I'm saying to myself, right? Or even if I do respond, it's just, oh, that's crazy, man. That's cool. And then the others are going to be like, oh, but this they do, this thing and this thing, and they just go into the specifics about whatever things they're talking about. That's the thing about that. They don't even talk about, let's give it to me cool. They tell me the very specific details about it. And I'm just thinking, why? Like, they tell me about the plot line, what happened in the plot. And I'm just like, why is this dude like this, bro? And I'm trying to hate, but it's like, I don't even play that much video game right now. So why do I have someone talking to me about the plot of a video game and what happened to a specific character? Like, why? So my brother said that, oh, people have no social awareness. Myself, I just find it to be kind of ironic, coming from an individual like myself, And it's funny because, here's the thing though also. When I talk to people about my hobbies, which is pretty much almost never, but the few times I try to get them into my hobbies, the things that I like, there's a very clear disinterest. I mean, sometimes even straight up told me, I'm not really that interested right now. I'm like, oh, I'm interested. So, I mean, that was a long time ago, so I kind of just shut the conversation off. But at the same time, they will continue to press me about their hobbies. So, some people they just want to hear themselves talk, right? They have no interest in what you want to do for fun and what you like to do. But they will gladly tell you about what they like to do for fun. Like, why? Like And this is why I just hate talking to people sometimes, bro. Like, I mean, it's fine if my brother-in-law or anyone else doesn't want to hear me talk about my hobbies. I'm not saying that's the problem. But the problem is when they expect me to sit there, listen to them talk about their hobbies. Why would I do that? And I don't even put an effort into, you know, seeming like I'm curious. I didn't even put an effort into that because why would I? They just told me they didn't even care about what I like to do. Why would I care what you do? You know, I just let them burn through their energy. You know, I'm just too polite to just tell them straight up I don't care. I'm just too polite for that. You know, I really wish I wasn't that polite. I really wish I could just be honest, but I feel like you just can't really do that. You just don't want to cause friction. And even when my brother-in-law said things like, brother-in-law said things, you know, directly, I'm not interested. He just said, oh, right now I'm like doing this. I'm like, okay. But, I guess he's more, how do I put this? I guess he's more comfortable just dismissing it. But even then, he doesn't put a polite way. The one can just flat out say, I don't care. No one can say that. And, you know, I really wish it wasn't the norm to pretend like you care. Because if you think about it, the norm of pretending like you have interest in this, I feel like it's very unfair to the other person. And here's what I mean by that, right? So, let's just say that someone's talking to me about video game, and I'm pretending like I care because I don't want to be disrespectful. I want to be polite. The other person gets this false idea that I'm actually interested, and they think that this is a fulfilling interaction. Even though deep down we're not really on the same wavelength, that's not fair to me. That's not fair. They should have these conversations with people that are actually on their wavelength, right? Because not what a guy just doesn't care about what they're talking about. So, let me use this as an example, right? Let's just say that, how do I explain this actually? So, what if my brother, instead of talking to me about his hobbies, what if he actually found, you know, some sort of friend group or social group, which he does, that actually is interested in whatever hobbies he's talking about, which he does, you know, because with me, you know, yes, I do have to pretend like I care, but that's not fair to him, right? And in my case, the thing about me is this is exactly why I don't even talk. The moment I realize that they're not interested, I just stop talking. Because I don't want to have that conversation with a guy or person that doesn't care. You know, I want to have that conversation with the guy that actually cares about these things I'm talking about. So I'm not going to go up to someone that doesn't care about gaming and talk to me about gaming. I'm not going to do that. Or even if I do that, you know, it'll be because I don't know yet if they're actually interested or not. The moment I get those hints, those immediate hints, and it says, I don't care, I'm done, I'm dropping it. Why not just find someone that actually anyway? No, I do want to move on to another topic. Well, not topic, but another point. Let's talk about arguing with people. Arguing with people. Arguing with people is probably the biggest waste of time ever. And even though I say that, it doesn't mean that I'm going to just stop arguing with people for the rest of my life. I know I'm not going to do that, you know? Like, for example, in public, or I get an idiot once in a while that makes an ignorant comment, and I just have this urge to correct him. And I could acknowledge that correcting this person is basically pointless because people view everything from their own lens. And actually, I have a very good example of that, right? Very good example. So, the last video titled Society Needs to Be Destroyed. That was the title. But it was not a self-pity video. I was really just talking contraction my life experiences with the norm, regular people's life experience. And it was not a video I was talking about, wow, my life sucked, this and that. And you know, in my life, somebody says, oh, it's not too late, man, you know? If I were like you and I just said, it is what it is, it's just the way I am, then I wouldn't be in the position I am today. I'm about to get married. I have met a lot of close friends, and they're all going to be in my marriage. Someone said this straight up. And I said, first of all, Again, he completely misunderstood what I said. Because I was not asking for advice in that video. Actually, you know what? I'm not even asking for advice anything in that video. I don't even know why people assume that I'm asking for advice. I'm just talking about how my life is. Like, for example, when I made that video, I was talking about I have no experience anything in my life. I was not saying, guys, I need help. I want to make my life worth living. I wasn't saying that because I never even said that I wasn't satisfied with my current lifestyle. People immediately assume that I was making a self-pity video and that I wasn't satisfied. That's why you had a person like that come up to me and talk about, oh, it's not too late, but you can change things. I'm like, hold on. When did I actually say I want to be in, when did I actually say I want to live your kind of lifestyle? I never said that. I never said that. And what I told the guy was, if eventually I experience things, if eventually I find connection by coincidence, then cool, I guess. But where I stand now with my lifestyle, I just basically do my hobbies, go do a work that I don't like, but I have to do because I want to survive, make these things, anime shit, and that's what I do. I strolled up, straight up, I'm completely fine with that. And, he said I was basically lying to myself. That's what he said verbatim, he said that. And I'm like, I'm lying to myself. And he was like, it's that good to lie to yourself, man. I'm like, huh? Am I lying to myself, or are you just projecting your way of life onto me? And this is what I really despise about society. This is probably one of the biggest things I despise about society. You could have your own preference for what you want your life to look like. But if it doesn't match the default script, then you're just lying to yourself. You guys know there's people that literally don't want any sort of romantic connection. You guys know that there's people that are, I believe the term is aromantic, right? There's literally people that have no interest in that. It's because their mind, their wiring just says, I don't even want this. I'm not saying I'm one of those people. I'm just using an example. But, and honestly, that's not even their preference. That's just the way they are. They don't want connection. And there's people that even go a step further where they don't want to have any sort of, intercourse, if you catch my drift. And I don't remember what the term is for that. But basically, it's something in their wiring that says, I have no desire whatsoever to do this. Like, a lot of people don't even believe that those things are real. People believe that people can't be like that. And the thing is, though, the people that are that way, they have nothing to prove. Because it's not even really something you can prove. The best way to attempt to prove that is by the way you live. By your choices, I guess. And for example, right? You could go ahead and believe, oh, you're lying. You really want a relationship. But if what the person is actually doing in his day-to-day life is not representative of that, basically, if they're like, okay, I'll just keep doing whatever I do. I'm never going to try to get into a relationship. And they stay true to that. Then, that's pretty much the best way you can prove it. And another example with that idiot in reality I was talking about. He thinks I really want this rich social life where I'm surrounded by people all the time and, I'm going to marriages and, he thinks I want to get married. That's the funny thing. He thinks that I want to live by society's default script, right? And it's hard to prove otherwise. You can't really prove otherwise. The only thing you can do is just live life the way you want to live, the way I keep living. That's all I could do, Because basically my day-to-day experiences, what I choose to do with my time, it completely disproves of that. So, I don't really care about what people think. If you really think that I'm some dude that deep down wants to chase after relationships, wants to have a rich social life and be surrounded by people, then I wouldn't be sitting here and just talking to a camera, I wouldn't be. After I'm done with this video, you won't even catch me talking to people. You won't even catch me attempting to talk to people. What am I going to do? I'm going to edit the video. I'm going to finish editing the video. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do my workout. And, when nighttime comes, I'm going to do some hobbies. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So, you can come up to me talking about, oh, you really want to live like us. Well, if that was really the case, then I would be doing things in my day-to-day life. trying to be like you, but I'm not. You guys get my point? So it's very idiotic when people come to me talking about, oh, you really want this lifestyle? Stop lying to yourself. Yeah. And it's not even just the idiot in my visit. It's people I've talked to in my real life too, because I've told people straight up, I don't care if I want kids or not. And this could be because this could be family, or this could be people that I work with, just random strangers, right? And if you tell them something like, oh yeah, I don't even want to have kids, they're going to assume that you actually do. They're just going to tell you something like, oh, you're going to change your mind. Oh, you're going to change your mind, man. You're going to get married. You're going to have kids. You're going to do what the rest of us are doing. So, basically, they just completely dismiss your purpose, your preference. Completely dismiss it. Because it's not the normal thing to do. Everyone else is doing this. Why should you do it? You know? And it's funny because they always tell you you're going to change your mind or you're going to regret it. I mean, I've lived 25 years so far in my entire life. Literally. I just turned like 23 and I never had the desire to have kids ever. I've never, ever said I wanted kids. I mean, even at my age, people still tell me, oh, you're gonna end up wanting kids eventually, man, or you're gonna regret that. And the thing is, I would understand if you're talking to some 9-year-old kid and you say that, but because obviously, you know, a 9-year-old doesn't even know who they are, really. Like, you don't even know who you are. You're still in development, but I'm a 23-year-old man. If I say I don't know if I want to have kids or not, I don't care, then, you know, what makes you think that I'm eventually change my mind? I'm an adult, right? And I feel like people will say this to you no matter how long you live. Well, if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, they're going to tell you, oh, you want to have kids, bro, you should, you know, you're going to regret not having kids. And then when you get old, it's like, oh, man, do you regret not having kids? And it's like, it's like they want to hear a yes from you when they ask that question. Like, I've heard people ask that question to old people. It's like they want to hear a yes. And when they hear a no, no, I don't regret not having kids. No, I don't regret not having kids. They're like, oh my God, how could that be? Like, it completely breaks their empty NPC brain. It completely breaks their brain, bro. It shatters their mind. Because, you know, this is someone that rejected what everyone else is doing, what everyone else told them to do, and lived by his own standards. And when people do that, they're just completely baffled. And that's exactly why I say, if they think you're lying, if they think you just want to do what everybody else is doing, the best thing you could do is just, you know, if you're really serious about what you're saying, you know, because I know there are still some people that say they don't want to have kids that end up having kids, but, you know, human beings change. They're not just aesthetic creatures. But the thing is, right, if you're really certain about what you're saying and you live by that, then who cares if some random person thinks? You're like, who cares? Why does he matter? People will always try to project their own life onto others. Whatever they feel is true to themselves, they want to project that onto other people. Because, you know, to be honest, again, with that one commenter, I can't see myself being like that. I can't see myself getting married. I will never get married in my entire life. Shit, I'm just never gonna do it. I don't know if I want kids, but I don't care if I don't. But if I do, I'm gonna still treat them the way I want them to. Heck, I don't really care about having a lot of friends. Like, I seriously don't care. Like, I'm not even saying that I can't have, like, one or two. But you won't catch me ever being someone that has even more than, I don't even know how much exactly, but I'm not going to be a guy that tries to keep up with all these people. I'm just not going to be that guy. I'm just not. I just care too much about myself and my own time to be that guy. So if someone thinks I'm lying, oh, you really want a social life, you really want to have dozens and dozens of friends. Well, I mean, you can believe whatever you want. To me, that's just projection. I mean, it is just projection. And what if I twist it around? What if I was trying to project my solitary life onto you? Oh, you really don't want friends. You really want to be alone, Bruce. I'm lying to yourself. Wouldn't that sound completely absurd? It was bro. That was so completely absurd, right? So why is the reverse completely okay? Why is that? Oh, wait. Because it's a normal thing to do. The norm. Get out of here with that nonsense, man. Like, this is just why I said about arguing with people, man. Like, it's not worth it, bro. People will always just project, you know? And even in terms of, like, debating, let's just say you two are debating on a specific topic. This is why I never do debates like that. Like, I'm not going to be debating about, whether having kids is, the right thing to do or not. The morality of having a kid. I'm not going to be debating about whether God exists or not. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, when I start with that topic, I actually am uncertain. Well, I don't know if God exists or not. There's no evidence that God exists, but I still believe in him. But, if someone comes to me talking about, this God does exist, how could they not exist, What other alternative is there? I'm just not going to even fade into it because what's the point, bro? And you wanna know what's so funny about this, right? Let's just say I eventually come to the conclusion that God exists. It won't be because someone I debated would convince me to pick that side. It'll be because I naturally just concluded that by myself. Something in my mind clicked with the notion that God exists. So, when it comes to debates, I feel like with debates, the vast majority of debates, the thing is, you're almost never going to convince the other person. You almost never will. I'm not saying that in every case, you're not going to convince them. Like, if two people are debating, and then both are prepared, and they came with the exact point they want to bring up, they prepared for the debate, right? What are the chances that there's going to eventually be like, oh, yeah, you're right, I completely changed sides? It's very minimal. I feel like debating, even if you try to be as objective as possible, there's this ego battle in debates. There's always this ego battle, man. Always. I mean, you could literally take what someone said. You could quote what someone said verbatim, right? And you could debunk that. And they will still continue to argue against what you were saying. And another thing I hate about debate is that people will always strawman you in debates, man. Like, you can make a point very clear, and they will completely twist it. And I'm a guy that actually tries to, like, when I ever debate with people, I try to be as articulate as possible. I try to explain exactly what I think, and then their mind just completely interprets it in a different way. And I'm like, how? How did you come to that conclusion? How did you think that I was saying that? How? And then they just respond in a manner that has, in a lot of cases, they just respond to an argument that I never even made. That's what a straw man is. And it's like, whenever that happens, I'm just like, bro, why did I even feed it to this, bro? Like, it's so absurd because the only reason I even begin debates is because we all have this, like, instinct to correct people. When people say something that's just flat out wrong, then don't you guys ever feel this instinct to correct it? The thing about me is I try to correct it in a polite manner. It's not like I use ad hominem in debate. I don't use ad hominem at all. I just say, here's where you went wrong. I explain where they went wrong. And then they respond to an argument I never made. Or they already came into this with a narrative in their mind. Like, for example, that guy I was talking about. I explained to him that I thought I was lying because he assumed that I wanted to get married, and basically he assumed that I wanted to live the default script, right? So when I explained to him that that's not really the case, he already has this narrative in his mind that I was lying. He couldn't even see, he couldn't even imagine that there's someone out there with their own preferences. And then whenever this ends up happening, I'm just like, bro, why did I even fade into that? Like, why? Like, why did I even bother? There's always a sense of regret whenever when I joined a debate, when I started a debate, and then towards the end, it's just like, bro, I shouldn't have bothered with that. Why do I even bother? This is why when people try to argue with me in my face, even if you're making a valid point, I just don't even feel the desire to do it in a lot of cases. I mean, sometimes I do it depending on how stupid it sounds, but because that guy's comment was very stupid. But even if someone makes a valid point, or when I say valid, I don't even mean like, okay, my bad. Valid is not the right word. If someone actually makes a point that, even if it may still space still seeming correct, I at least can recognize that they're a thinker. They're thinking about this. Even then, it's like, I don't even know, bro. I don't even know. I just don't want to talk to people, bro. I don't want to argue with people. I don't want to talk to people. Just no. I just don't want to bother.